Good morning, New Zealand. It's Monday morning, start of a new week, and this is Daybreak. Yes, it is Monday morning, August the 4th, and don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, like this video, subscribe to our TV channel and sign up for those alerts so you know exactly when we go live. If you're watching on Facebook, Instagram, who else we got? We've got Substack, X, LinkedIn. We are everywhere. So make sure you keep alert when we do come online. Right, breaking news. Apparently, you know how the media always complain about misogynistic abuse being aimed at female MPs? Well, apparently it's all okay. The Media Council says that it was absolutely fine for the Sunday Star Times to use the C word against female MPs that they don't like. You'll know that actually I was one of the complainants of that, and I stand by what I actually said in my complaint. In fact, it's quoted in the judgment. It says this: Bob McCoskrie, CEO of Family First, complained about the use of the word C, which he said the Broadcasting Standards Authority have deemed to be one of the most acceptable words, which they have, for a female journalist. So it was a female journalist using misogynistic abuse against other female MPs. For a female journalist to be firing that label at female MPs is both offensive and completely unprofessional. It is one thing to strongly critique policy, but it's another to denigrate political leaders personally in such an offensive way. And in the formal complaint, Bob McCoskrie said media outlets were angry about misogynistic abuse targeted at female MPs, except when it came from them, quoting a number of stories from Stuff, The Post and Press, which are all part of the Stuff label. The fact that the Sunday Star Times editor said that Andrea Vance, the reporter, had been the target of the word in question and other ugly smears was proof that it wasn't acceptable. That's the irony. She complains about being targeted by the words which she has just used. I mean, the hypocrisy knows no level amongst our mainstream media. And my final quote was, "It's time the media raised the standard of the debate, not dragged it to an all-time low." Well, I don't think the media can drag it any lower, and the Media Council has sided with their mates. Apparently misogynistic abuse aimed at female MPs is all okay now. That's how sad it's got. Another story that I was interested to see, research, and parents, think about when you give your kids that smartphone. A global study of over 100,000 young people found that kids who got their first smartphone before the age of 13 were more likely to face mental health challenges in early adulthood, including suicidal thoughts, aggression, feelings of detachment, poor emotional control, and low self-worth. And it points to the major problems were cyberbullying, disrupted sleep. Well, don't let phones in the bedroom. That's rule number one. And strained family relationships, interestingly. And the lead author urged policymakers to consider restrictions on smartphone access for children under 13. Similar to regulations on alcohol and tobacco. Well, maybe we should make it 16. But once again, more evidence that smartphones are not good for young developing brains. Probably no surprise here. Really positive story in the Sunday Star Times yesterday. I don't know if you saw this, but it was about Black Beauden Barrett. And it says he still might be chasing trophies on the field, but as they discover, it's family that's truly driving the All Black star these days. It's quite a lengthy article. Just want to read a couple of excerpts. It says, one of the aspects of Beauden Barrett is it's that of a dedicated family man and doting girl dad. Never mind his responsibilities as the game driver and most senior figure of Scott Robertson's All Blacks, the job he has as father to Billy Rose, 4 years old, and Coco 2, and husband to Hannah is his driving force these days. His why, if you like. It says rugby is still very important, but it's second behind my family, he says. It's nice. No longer is the game of rugby life or death, or at least has that perception. When I was younger, so much of my energy and focus went into the game. My well-being hung on my performance of my team. But don't get me wrong, I still want to win games. It just makes it easier when you go home and the girls make you switch off just like that. My intention every time is leave the boots at the front door and be the best dad I can be. He says, when I got married, things changed. We were all about partnership and family. From that point on, that was for us for life and always the most important thing. It's the hardest thing about traveling. You miss out on so much. And he also mentions about his younger sister. His younger sister, Zara, may be the most special Barrett of them all. That she has Down syndrome matters not a jot. He said, we treat Zara the same as anyone else, but we know she's just a little bit more special because she's got a special place in our hearts. She works for a law firm and at the local pub, and that inclusion is so important. So it's a wonderful article. Family first, Beauden Barrett. Nice to see that in the mainstream media. Sort of counteracts all the negativity of the misogynistic abuse by certain MPs at that same newspaper. Interesting article also about the emerging political divide based on genders between young men and young women in New Zealand. Not so much, I've done a McBlog on what's happening in the United States and the UK about how actually younger people both genders are becoming more conservative, but in New Zealand, the polling suggests that young women are significantly more likely to identify as left-wing or progressive than their male peers. Apparently in the last election, a clear majority of 18 to 34-year-olds, women, supported Greens and Labour, while young men tended to support ACT, National and New Zealand First. Women have a positive view of Jacinda Ardern, negative view of Donald Trump, but young men have a negative view of Greta Thunberg. And look, they're saying that women are more likely to engage with platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and feminist-oriented YouTube. That's an interesting definition, which is why we've got this program on all our family first material on those platforms, deliberately to help change the viewpoint and put the other side to these women, young women, apparently. These are spaces where progressive values on issues like climate change, bodily autonomy, that's abortion, code word for abortion, and social justice are commonplace. On the other hand, men are more likely to go to online gaming platforms, Reddit, Discord, and YouTube channels that often host contrarian or libertarian content. Oh yes, we don't want those contrary views or those libertarian views, do we? What else does it say? Oh, it just says that younger guys are more likely to prioritize a strong economy, whereas younger women are twice as likely to prioritize healthcare. So there's two issues that the government may need to think about. And it does make one comment. The article makes an interesting comment. It says older generations in New Zealand are shaped by a more cohesive and shared cultural experience. And what was that? It was things like Anzac Day, attending church, and watching the evening news instilled a common sense of national identity that helped bridge political divides. Yes, it's admitting that church bridges political divides, brings that unity, and maybe it's more open, free speech type of thing. So, yeah, very interesting article in the Sunday Star Times. I did see this hysterical article in the Herald on Sunday. Shane Tupou, who's a left-wing commentator, talking about the electoral reform, which says that you have to enrol to vote 2 weeks before the actual election. You just can't rock up on the day. And look at that subheading there. The government plans to block 100,000 people from voting. I mean, that's just complete hysteria, isn't it? The government's not blocking anybody. It's just saying, get yourself organised. As I always say, who turns up to the airport to travel somewhere and says, oh, whoops, I haven't got my passport. Can I just register for it now? It doesn't happen, does it? You've got to plan in advance. If we can plan in advance to get a passport to travel, then we can plan in advance to vote. It's pretty simple. Let's all be adults. Overseas, Barclays has become the second big British bank to quit the virtue signalling net zero banking alliance. It follows HCBS's withdrawal. And so banks basically are stopping the wokeness and the virtue signalling. And it's basically been since Trump got in, and he said, drill, baby, drill. And New Zealand also is looking at oil and gas exploration as well. These banks have been trying to force down that they will only lend money and only fund woke stuff, net zero they call it. But of course, a lot of people are realising that that's just a pipe dream. Interesting story in the UK, The Telegraph. Israel Folau has been erased from Australian rugby history. And they actually say that it sets an alarming precedent. Now, I've got the whole article, and when you read it, it's not like the author is totally on side of Israel Folau, but he does raise a couple of interesting points. Basically, he says that Israel Folau was, a superstar, super gifted, and the article says that sadly was before the explosion of social media, which afforded him such a dangerous outlet for his fundamentalist Christian beliefs. No, it's just Christian beliefs, actually. It's just what the Bible says. And it would destroy his career. And in some ways, it goes on, it says that Rugby Australia has never recovered since then. I mean, they got knocked out of the 2019 World Cup in the quarterfinals, and then in 2023 they didn't even get it out of pool stage. So that's how bad it has got. But the article, the interesting question that the article asks is, it says the central question is whether the punishment fits the crime in relation to the expression of a sincerely held view. And they actually asked a couple of other players. The Wallabies tight head, Taniela Tupou, for the Lions test last Saturday, or 2 days ago, said in response to the termination of Folau's contract, seriously, might as well sack me and all the Pacific Island players because we have the same Christian beliefs. And yeah, I think, the other point that it makes is that the hypocrisy that you've got players who have committed domestic violence and other crimes, and there was a big drugs scandal as well in Australian rules, and of course they're all still playing. They were suspended briefly, but they're all still playing. They haven't lost their career like Israel Folau has. Now, speaking of Israel Folau, you'll be very excited to know that it's a cut, it's a wrap. We have done the filming. We have gone to Israel and Maria because unfortunately Israel Folau is playing rugby in Japan at the time of the Forum on the Family at the end of this month. So we went to them and we did the interview. We've recorded the first exclusive interview. It's the first time that Israel and Maria Folau have told their side of the story. And if you come to the Forum at the end of the month, you will get to hear it as an exclusive. We had a lot of fun doing that interview. Just a really great couple. So if you haven't registered yet, forumonthefamily.nz. There are some fantastic speakers. Dr. Miriam Grossman, we're speaking to live from New York. Dawn Hawkins on the whole pornography issue. Kirralie Smith speaking up against dudes playing in women's sports teams. Jeff Johnston, ex-LGBT, talking about how we engage with that whole issue in truth, but also in grace. And Amanda Ackman talking about euthanasia and how far down the slippery slope Canada has gone. Just a couple of other very quick articles. The Giggle versus Tickle case goes back to court today. Now, Giggle versus Tickle is about a transgender, so a dude pretending to be a woman who wanted to go into a woman's only phone app. Sal Grover is the woman who was running the app, and she's been sued because she blocked a biological male from coming into a woman's only app. And the first court in Australia decided that no, actually, your sex is completely fluid and you can decide whether you're male or female. It's not set in stone. That's what the court decided. So that is being appealed and it goes back to court today. So you'll see some media coverage of that. But what the Australian identified is that actually the LGBT is sort of splintering. It's breaking apart. They say the simmering division in Australia's gay and transgender communities has boiled over on the eve of a court case that will define the rights of women together with other women, adult human females. Once united and galvanised by the gay marriage campaign, the rainbow community is now deeply and often bitterly divided by the push to entrench and expand trans rights. And in effect, what you've got trans rights groups competing against lesbian groups and lesbian groups know what a woman is, which is why they're lesbian, and the trans groups don't. And so you've got this split in the LGBT camp, which is very interesting to watch. Woke up. Time to woke up to another beauty company, Ulta Beauty. Do you use Ulta Beauty? I don't. Fairly evident, isn't it? Ulta Beauty. If you use Ulta Beauty, it's one of the world's biggest cosmetic brands. It has collaborated with a non-binary hairstylist, Jonathan Van Ness, who is a bearded man who dresses up as a woman. And in a video, Van Ness, who goes by he, him, she, her, and they, them pronouns, you know, might as well use all the pronouns, advertises for his hair product brand, which is available at Ulta Beauty. Let me show you the video just for a laugh this morning.
Gideon here is now at Ulta, and I'm here to see the display for the first time, you guys.
Lovely dress.
Hi, honey. What's your name?
Paulina.
Nice to meet you, Paulina. Nice to meet you. What's your name, honey? Nice to
They
meet
look
you.
impressed,
We're
don't
gonna
they?
see what Gideon hair looks like at Ulta for the first time. It's gonna be Ulta fun. Okay, let's see it. Who's that? She's so pretty. I got highlights since then. Oh, you think
She's
it's
so pretty.
It's gorgeous.
Do you think she's gonna get along with all of her other new Ulta friends?
Gorgeous, of course. She fits right in.
She does, right? JB Hair is now at Ulta Beauty nationwide. We love the hair you have.
Ah, incredible. Ulta Beauty. Anyway, go woke, go broke. Let's see what happens with them. Maybe they'll do a Bud Light. I don't know. I don't use the product, as you can tell. Oh, just one other research thing. I saw this a week ago, actually, and I've been meaning to tell you about it. Fascinating study. And what it says is that the dominant narrative around the whole transgender issue is that transgender identifying youth are the victims of bullying. And basically they're ostracized, excluded, and harassed simply for being their authentic selves. And so you've got all these policies around rewriting school curricula around gender identity, and you've got to use personal pronouns, and so-called gender affirming care, which is chemicalizing and castrating young people. And it's called the minority stress model. And basically the argument is that the mental stress that transgender young people have is not due to all the comorbid disorders, which is giving them the gender identity issue in the first place. It's because people are mean to them, right? That's the argument. The problem is that there's been a massive study from Finland, and it involved, how many? It was 130,000, 139,000 students in total. And they looked at the bullying done and the bullying received. And they found that adolescents who identify as transgender, wait for this, especially those who consider themselves non-binary, were more likely than their non-trans identified peers not only to be bullied, but also to bully others. In fact, the link between transgender identity and perpetrating bullying, in other words, doing the bullying, was even stronger than the link to being bullied. In other words, yes, they're being bullied, but they're also doing the bullying. And so that's why, as we've always argued, you deal with all bullying. You don't pretend that there's certain groups that are bigger victims than others. I mean, if you are, look at the research. It's actually kids being bullied for racial issues and also for appearance and maybe not doing well at school. But this study completely destroys the notion that LGBT kids are being bullied. In fact, the study shows that sometimes they are the bullies. So that sort of goes against the narrative, doesn't it? Yes, very confusing. All right, just before I go, one very quick advertisement.
Family First is bringing you conservative conversations, commentary and content. And now you can access these important discussions in the format that you prefer. Watch, read, listen. You can watch our content on our website, familyfirst.nz. Simply click on the Watch tab and you'll see all our various programs that you can view. You can also watch these across our social media channels: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, TikTok, Threads and Blue Sky. Everywhere. If you'd prefer to listen while you go about your daily activities or are travelling in a vehicle, then click on the Listen tab and the latest content is there for you to listen to. You can also find us on Spotify under Family First NZ. And if you prefer to read our commentary, then click on the Read tab. We're increasing the frequency of our written commentary, focusing on the latest research and analysing the current news events which are relevant to families and society. We provide the insight and context which you won't get from the mainstream media. We're also now adding the full scripts of Family Matters and McBlog under the video link in our website, and also written summaries on our live stream shows so that you can read and digest the material at your own pace. Consume our conservative conversations in the way that best suits you. Watch, read, listen. Go to familyfirst.nz and join the conversation.
Yeah, there we go. So you've got to register for the forum on the family.nz, and you've got to go to familyfirst.nz and you can watch, read and listen. All right, just a couple of comments. Chris says the comparison to turning up at an airport for an overseas flight without a passport is a good one. That's in relation to you got to register to vote. Why can't we put a bit of requirement to register in advance so you don't just rock up on the day? Rosie says a woman's app is for women only, not for those men who think they're a woman. Well, that's what you'd think, Rosie, but in Australia, apparently not. Linda says, beautiful words from Beauden Barrett to remind us of the importance of family. And a lot of you are saying, please stop playing that hideous video of our beauty store, Ulta Beauty. There we are. Add that to the list of woke companies to avoid. All right, we're out of time. Monday morning, start of the week. Hope you have a great day today. I'll see you back on Wednesday. Oh, Straight Talk is on tonight. Who's on the panel? Peter Williams, Sue Reed, Susie Miller, and you know what? I've completely forgotten who the other one. All I know is that there's, I know, Tanya Unkovic. So there's 3 women and Peter Williams and me. So I don't know if Peter and me are going to get a word in. But anyway, if you want to know what a woman is, watch tonight, Straight Talk, because you'll quickly find out. Anyway, have a great day.